Financial literacy, or this year's Financial Literacy Week, will run from the 21st to the 27th of March 2022 under the theme Build Your Future, Be Money Smart. Now, this theme is derived from the Global Money Week theme, which is Build Your Future and Be Smart About Money. The name is Winston Mavoro, and thank you for joining me on BizWeek this evening. Now, the importance of this particular theme, does tilt one's mind to being cognizant of the future as we make financial decisions. Not only that, the themes that I've talked about also help to prompt organizations that are participating in this year's Global Money Week to be flexible, but not only be flexible, to also be innovative in the era of digital financial technology that we're in, to promote and inculcate a sense of financial literacy and ultimately inclusion. Today is a very special day, and of course I'm joined in studio by a very powerful panel. This panel is not only powerful, but it is wise for one reason: they are women, and you know what tomorrow is. Good evening, ladies.
Good evening. Bye-bye.
All right, so for those of you that are watching and wondering who these special ladies are, on my immediate left, I have Maua Yondela Lungu, who is Director, Financial Services Supply. And on my just opposite me is Director, Gender, Youth and Financial Education. She is Rose Namu Kwai. This evening, we will be talking about the role of financial literacy in empowering women in Zambia. Now, first things first, before we get, the ball rolling and get into the nitty-gritties of financial literacy and how it connects with the women, I'll start with you, Maua. First of all, just tell us, about FSD Zambia for those that may be wondering what FSD, is all about.
So, thank you very much. FSD Zambia is a Zambian organization, and we work with different players in the market to expand financial inclusion, and we particularly ensure that people are financially healthy. We have a target market who are the low-income individuals and the micro-entrepreneurs and low-income households. And we have been working with the support of financing partners such as CEDA, Comic Relief, UK Aid, Jersey Overseas Aid, and recently GIZ. So in a nutshell, FSD Zambia is an institution that works to expand financial inclusion.
All right. So one, obviously, when you talk about the issue of promoting the agenda of financial inclusion, which I believe is very, very key, when we talk about economic aspirations, even at a broader level. But as we get into the discussion, just help us understand, the role that you guys play in ensuring that this is a success, especially among women.
Oh, well, as Maua has, thank you so much, glad to be here. As Maua has explained, we particularly work with the underserved to promote financial inclusion among the underserved. And in that regard, it's a given that mostly women, youth and disabled or people living with disabilities are usually the ones that are, underserved in this regard. So, the role that we play, FSD Zambia is very intentional about its work insofar as including women, youth, and people living with disabilities, because we understand the fact that they are the ones that are mostly secluded or excluded from financial services. Yeah, so my role is basically to ensure that this gender agenda within FSD Zambia is made alive, and that we do not forget that. Even as my colleagues are implementing their programs, I come in to ensure that they are responsive to the needs of women in their work.
All right, so to participate in today's conversation, we are looking at the role of financial literacy in empowering women in Zambia. And as you've heard from the precurrent submission, is that women and, youth are also included when it comes to the target that FSD Zambia works closely to ensure that they are financially included. So to participate in this conversation, this episode is being broadcasted live on the Diamond TV Zambia Facebook page. So you can let us know what you think or your comments comments with regards inclusion of women, youth, and of course other underserved, segments of our population when it comes to financial inclusion. In case you have a question about financial inclusion, this is the right platform, and of course we will endeavor to answer and attend to some of those questions. Interestingly, you mentioned, something very, very interesting, Rose, about, targeting the youth. And I know that there's a terminology, I don't know if you've heard it, but as a young person, there's a word that, people use on the street, stay woke, woke, be woke, stay woke. And a lot of people now are coming in an age where we see a lot of women taking up roles using social media platforms, to talk about money, to talk about financial issues, to educate people on how to manage their finances, their debts, and all these arrangements. And before I get to Mo, I just wanted to find out, what is the importance of such kind of initiatives that people are taking that have the knowledge to engage with the young people and different publics altogether using social media to promote financial literacy?
So, we are in a digital age, and fortunately for us, the youths are tech savvy. I mean, give a phone to the youth, they'll do a lot of things with it. So I think as FSD Zambia, we are trying to take advantage of that, because we youths are, the future of tomorrow and even today. So we are, in terms of using social media platforms and, just to promote that digital financial inclusion among the young people, it's actually an opportunity that we see, and it is something that we want to take forward as FSD Zambia, and just look at different kinds of innovations that we can use, but promote financial inclusion among the young people, because I think the young people really have proved to us that we are not even talking about them being future leaders now. They are the leaders. They are actually the leaders. So we are very excited to work with young people and ensure that, digital platforms, social media, Twitter, I don't know the other ones that they use, so many of these. We want to use that to actually promote financial inclusion for the young people.
Okay, I will come back to you on that. But Mao, for those that are watching us right now, somebody that is watching us right now probably in Mandevo compound and is wondering, what is this financial inclusion that these people are talking about? Does it mean I'm supposed to have a bank account with the Bank of China or the Bank of Zambia or Zanaco? What is this animal? Because oftentimes when we have conversations like this, they tend to appeal more to those that, are considered to be of decent literacy levels. Yet when it comes to financial services, they're for everybody, irrespective of one's educational background or economic status. So for the sake of avoiding financial literacy to be technically misconstrued by those that are watching us, just break it down for us in simple terms.
So thank you very much. In simple terms, financial inclusion is a process that we use to enable access of appropriate, available, and adequate financial services. So the different financial services can be credit, savings, insurance, payments, and investments. So every person in Zambia is supposed to be to have some access to finance. And you speak well when you say the people in Mandevo. The people in Mandevo may think that they cannot have access to financial service or to any financial service. But for financial inclusion, we believe that we can enable those who are underserved to have some form of access to this financial service. So what we do as FSD Zambia, we work with the supply side, which are financial service providers, such as banks, insurance companies, MFIs, to design appropriate financial services for these people. Yeah.
Right, Rose, you and I obviously were talking about the issue of technology and how it is enabling and promoting the agenda of financial literacy leading to inclusion. Mobile or smartphone access or affordability, some would say, is something that urban dwellers may not have a problem with compared to those that are in rural areas. Now, I ask this on the background that I've had an opportunity to be in the field with FSD and firsthand seen some of the efforts that FSD is making. But I just want to understand, how are you bridging the gap between people that cannot afford to buy themselves a Samsung Galaxy but can only afford that small phone to also be financially included?
Yeah, so you're very right. There's a very big divide between the urban and the rural settings in terms of access to digital services and even like phones. So we work with the different actors in the field. We work with MNOs, mobile network providers, operators. We are also working with government. Actually, we are collaborating with Smart Zambia. We have a very close collaboration with Smart Zambia, and we are talking about these things, and we are advocating for change of policy in terms of making phones available to everyone, and also in terms of the satellite, which have been the satellite dishes that can make sure that there's transmission, because even in the rural areas we find that the network is quite bad. So those are things that we engage the different actors, the policy makers, and different actors like the mobile network operators, to ensure that they are, they are mindful of their obligation as well, to ensure that they are serving not only the urban dwellers but also the rural dwellers. So we do a lot of collaborations. Maybe Mao can just add on that.
I can just add on. We had a recent project that we run as FSD Zambia, which we call the cash shake-off. And just as the phrase, we're trying to shake off cash. We're trying to meet two goals. And the first goal was to enable people to prevent them from COVID-19 prevention, and also to spread the digital financial services. So what we did, and since we're talking about women, was we targeted 44,000 women.
44,000. Okay.
Yes. And this was as a result of one of the results from our FinScope survey. Our FinScope survey actually told us that financial inclusion rose because of mobile money services. And so we thought that since the rural sector do not have access to phones, we distributed phones. And the other aspect of the phones was that the 44,000 women and the disabled as well were supposed to have some mobile money inserted in their phones as well, so that they could have some transactions and payments, and also some financial education sent out as messages to them, and COVID-19 messages to them. So as the FSD Zambia, we try to meet some of the gaps that we see in the sector in terms of financial inclusion, and in terms of how people do not have access to financial services. So we also use such devices such as mobile phones, mobile money, and digital platforms as well. Yeah.
Whilst we're on that, the interesting theme of this year's Financial Literacy Week is Build Your Future, Be Money Smart. Just break it down for us.
So build your future, be money smart. That's really a brilliant phrase. I really believe that women are futuristic, and they're kind of smart. And it makes sense for us to be talking about women this week, and just encouraging them that for them to be smart, they should know that they can have access to financial services that can remove them from their vulnerability. And they should know that access to financial services is not only for the elite. There are products out there that have been tailor-made for the low-income individuals. There are services that have been made for women, for the youth, and also for the vulnerable. So the smart way is that they should access these financial services. They should talk to financial service providers. They should seek help, and they'll be able to access these financial services.
I love the way you've broken it down, but let me just bring it a bit to reality. From my personal interactions with different people, and one of the things that I've come to learn is that there's still this, I don't know if I can call it invisible barrier that has to be broken, or if it's a mindset barrier.
Yeah.
If I went to a bank in a suit, probably, and you went to a bank, and I tell them, look, I need this money. Obviously, they'll say, okay, maybe this man. Let's consider this man and everything. So what exactly are you building on what Maua has said? Women should go out there, talk to these financial services. But the reason that women cannot go to these banks, it is because of the answers that they've gotten, They went with the same offer, they went with the same request, they were denied, they were put on hold. A man walks right in there, he gets the loan, he gets the money, So how can we change this? How is FSD engaging with certain stakeholders within the financial sector to also just break this wall?
You're actually very right when you say that. But, we also understand that the barriers are there and they are real. I think in the gender sector, we understand that one of the major challenges that women face in terms of economic empowerment is lack of access to productive resources. Now, I think as FSD Zambia, we are mindful of the fact that these barriers don't just come from nowhere. So we are also very keen on research, and so like currently we're actually undertaking a research on the social norms and gender norms that actually impact on financial inclusion for women. We want to understand what are these cultural barriers, what are these social barriers that will make a woman not feel confident enough to walk in a bank. Some of them are structural because the way the banks are designed, and when you walk in a bank and mostly it's a man that you talk to, it's rare. It's only now that we see a lot of women in the banking sector or in the financial sector that you can actually walk to and you can ask questions. But historically, banks were mostly, run by men. The tellers were men. So that created a very big barrier. But I think in the study that we've done, we are doing this study in collaboration with an international organization, and it's not just here in Zambia, but it's also across Africa. And there are a lot of social norms, gender norms that are coming out that will actually tell a woman that you cannot, access money because sometimes when you have more money than your husband, the marriage breaks apart because then you become very, empowered, and men don't like that. But then also the way the banks are designed. So I think, as Marwa said, we are working with banks to actually make them also understand, they have to be responsive. And not only banks, but different financial service providers like insurance companies. We are working with regulators to also just make them understand that, women have to be included, and they play a very key role in terms of financial inclusion for women. So yes, the barriers are there, but we are very hopeful and we are very excited because we've actually seen that, there's a lot of change and a lot of positive change that's coming up now. Just ordinary women like marketeers, are able to walk in the bank and, starting from the savings groups, because they've learned the art of saving, they gain the confidence, and some of them actually work in banks. So I know that these are things that maybe we don't really talk about or they don't come out so much, but women are actually gaining that confidence. Of course, it's going to take a long time, but the most important thing is that we have made a lot of strides as a nation. I think it's good that we should really be proud of ourselves where that is concerned.
All right. So coming to you, Mao, obviously, Rose talked about, savings group and the wonders that they're doing to not only, enhance financial literacy, which in my opinion is key to enhancing, inclusion. Just bring us up to speed. I know that FSD has been working, quite extensively with different groupings across the country, marginalized women, youths, and vulnerable, low-income households, to bring them to a place where they can financially, learn and become sober enough to make good decisions that will improve their economic status. So how is FSD doing in that area? Are we seeing progress? Are we seeing results?
We have a big thematic area called informal financial services, and that's where saving groups falls in. And in the informal financial services, I must say we also can advocate for things like Chilimba and also Kaloba. So in terms of saving groups, I will say that it is an informal financial service that we advocate for because we believe that it's a stepping stone to formal financial service linkages. And why do I say so? This is because saving groups somehow mimic a bank and also an insurance service. That's because there is a saving there. So you teach people how to save, you teach people how to invest, you teach people how to grow their money with interest, and you can also teach people about insurance through their social fund. And I know a lot of people in Zambia call saving groups as village banking, and that is for another topic. But saving groups are a stepping stone. When people do understand how to save, how to invest, how to grow their money, and how to insure themselves, then it's easier for us to link them to the formal financial services. So yes, at FSD Zambia, we have run about 16,000 saving groups across the country, which is almost about just below 300,000 individuals, and most of these are women, and which is really a success story for us, because we know that then we're building the capacity of women, and we know that by the time we can link them to financial services, they'll be confident enough to get into a financial institution and save that money, grow that money, and insure themselves.
Maybe just a little add on that.
Please go ahead.
We actually have situations where women have served and now they're actually looking for more money. So at that point, more like they've graduated. They want to graduate from just saving the little monies in the savings groups, and they want to access more bigger loans.
Yeah.
And so there are also graduation benchmarks, where you have some graduation benchmarks, and you see that women are now no longer content with just, the money that they get in savings groups, or because they want to do bigger things. But they've gained the confidence from, like what Mawa has explained, just by being part of this savings group. And we should also maybe mention here that we enshrine financial education in all these savings groups. We just don't form savings groups and then, but there's an element of financial education that we provide to the women or the members of the savings groups. So through that, they actually become very confident, and they more like want to graduate and get even bigger loans. And at that point, they want to go to a bank. So I think that's really a success story for us.
I think that is something that is worth commendation. And but interestingly, I once had an experience, where I was in a bank, and in front of me was a woman, and when it was her turn, the teller greeted her in English, and I could tell that she was having a bit of challenges with the English language.
Yeah.
Remember, we're talking about barriers. We're talking about, real issues that are surrounding financial inclusion here.
Yeah.
And, I stood there watching the whole show, and until one of the security personnel came through and just put it on the side and says, "Oh, mami, apa mushdeso, apa mulembeso, apa mulembeso." When I went to the tailor, she was like, "Good afternoon, sir, how are you?" Then I asked her, I said, "Why are you greeting me in English?" Now, I know English is the official language, and of course, we had that light moment and everything. But you see, it is simple things like that that sometimes would be a barrier. For a woman, that right deep in Kasama, you've been investing in with the knowledge, with financial literacy, in as much as you've armed her and she's ready, and then she goes in this, bank setup, and then, somebody just throws her with the Queen's language that she can't follow properly.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know, as you are trying to bridge this link, are these areas that you're also paying attention to?
Yes, we are. Like we said, we work with financial service providers, we work with banks, we work with insurance companies. Currently, we have an initiative that we are calling Making Insurance Work for Women, where we are trying to actually work with the regulator to ensure that, we talk about these things. So I think there's a lot of effort, and we've had a lot of engagements with the banks, and yes, these barriers will be there, but you see also that now there's also an element of knowledge where I think a woman, if you go into a bank and you tell the teller that I don't understand English, they will be able to find someone who's going to talk to you in the local language that you understand as much as possible. So I think it's just to demystify certain things that are, mystical still, and also encourage the banks or other savings, financial service providers about the need to actually mainstream gender in their operations. So I think that FSD Zambia, like I said, that my role really is to basically do that, to ensure that even as we're interacting with financial service providers, we're interacting with regulators, we are telling them that there's a woman out there in Kaputa who may want to serve, but they may not understand the Queen's language. So when they walk in the bank, please make it comfortable for them, and not just a woman, but also a person who's physically challenged. The people that are like differently abled. Sometimes it just, because there's no ramp there, there are stairs and things like that. So we are trying to promote all these small little things that make access very, very easy and, affordable for the underserved. So I think we are trying our level best to engage and we're actually seeing a lot of strides in that regard.
I believe one of the areas that you women will agree with me is the fact that, a lot of you guys are enterprising naturally, whether at a commercial scale, whether at a smaller scale, at a bigger scale, at a household level, naturally women are enterprising. And from that, Maua, obviously a lot of women nowadays, and this is evident, it's everywhere on social media, people are selling clothes that they're calling thrifts. People are doing all kinds of crazy things out there to earn an income at the end of the day. And it is something that is progressive, as you mentioned. Women coming out of the cocoon to be able to pursue their entrepreneurial dreams. But of course, that comes with challenges. Sometimes they make losses, and sometimes they make good profits. And because they don't have the knowledge to manage the money, they again start from zero. So I just wanted to find out from you, how can these women protect their businesses from seen and unforeseen losses?
Well, you've rightly put it that whether it's a small business or a big business, it really succumbs to risk. And the first thing that you should do is that even if you are a woman running a business, you should identify the risks before you prioritize them. So we do have major risks like the economic risk, the social risks, the political risks, but every small enterprise has some form of risks. For example, if you're a tailor or you're a marketeer, you own a salon, you must have some form of risk that you should be able to identify. And when you identify them, you think of managing it. And to answer you then, how then do we manage those risks? There are some interventions that small micro entrepreneurs can use. They can save for a rainy day, which is something that can help them when they have an unforeseen circumstance, but they can also insure themselves. And I know this is a touchy subject for a lot of people about insurance, because we have a lot of people who are not aware about insurance. We have 40% of people who do not know about insurance, and we have a lot of
Some of them are too spiritual.
Some of them, yes, too skeptical, too
Exactly.
spiritual, yes.
Yeah.
But then insurance is a financial service that is created for that unforeseen circumstance. And so in trying to curb for that risk, I would promote that every woman entrepreneur, every person who's got an enterprise should insure their property, should insure themselves from fire, should insure their lives. So insurance, in the insurance sector, we've got about 30 insurance companies, and you can choose just the way you choose a retail shop. You can have a choice of which insurance company you can insure your property with. And that would be my advice in terms of curbing risk for any entrepreneur. Yeah.
Interesting. Rose, one of the things that I know is that FSD Zambia has been quite very active in terms of working to promote key pillars of socioeconomic development, such as education. So how are the programs that you're currently implementing, that you've implemented, supporting key pillars of socioeconomic development?
So, really happy and excited to announce that for the first time in Zambia, we actually developed a curriculum, a national financial education curriculum for young people in schools. So from grade 8 to grade 12, we are going to have young people learning about financial education, what is saving, what is insurance, and all these things. So for us, I think it's a start. It's really very, very important that we start there with the young people, and we actually, when someone is coming out of secondary school, they should know what a government bond is. It's a form of investment. Wow, really. We shouldn't wait until you are in university
to. Did I even know that?
You don't have to wait until you're in university to know that you can actually grow your money through bonds. So we are. In that way, we're actually getting the generation ready to know about these things and to appreciate what these things are. So I think socially, we're also just trying to promote financial education in different avenues. We have different programs that we're running. Like right now, there's a Bank Yako Yako, which is basically just promoting financial literacy among different actors in Zambia, different people, women, youth, and everyone else. So we believe that everything that we do, economic empowerment starts with social empowerment. If you're not socially empowered, trust me, it's very difficult to actually think about how you move to become economically empowered. So we believe that social empowerment is very important, but this social empowerment has to be informed with the knowledge that we're providing in terms of financial education. And at this point, I'd like to say that it's not just FSD Zambia. We work through different partners. So we identify various partners that we work with that go down in the communities. We are working with different people that are targeting the disabled, people who are living with disabilities, and just different players in the market. But we believe that when a person is socially empowered, when a woman is not prone to issues of gender-based violence, for example, it's very easy for them to think about them wanting to be economically empowered. But if she's, prone to these social vices like, harassment, gender-based violence, it's very difficult for a woman to move and become economically empowered. So in that regard, we are very holistic. We take a very holistic approach in our programs. We just don't promote financial inclusion. We also think about some of these, like I said, barriers that could actually cause a woman not to be economically empowered. And we try to address them through different players that we work with. Yeah.
One of the things, Maua, that a lot of people are struggling right now who are watching us is the issue of what I would like to call the social media pressure. Nowadays, we live in a dispensation where people want to show what's happening in their lives. And what this has birthed is a desire for people to, show their good life, buy good clothes, go to expensive places, chill spots, and, spend this money. So it has created a pressure, where if I don't know what it took for you to save, perhaps, to be able to afford that holiday, but because, Mo, you've gone there with your family, you're having a good time, I'm also like, you know what, I want to do it. Somebody goes to get a loan. People are in all these Kaloba arrangements that are literally choking them. And this is something that a lot of people right now who are watching us are struggling with. So I'd like us to address this issue. What would be your advice when it comes to handling and dealing with these issues from a perspective of financial literacy and inclusion?
So in terms of what I believe in financial literacy helps people to understand and to have some knowledge about, and to also have some confidence about financial services. When you're financially literate, for example, firstly, you won't be defrauded, especially by
which is also another big thing.
Another big thing, yes. And then coming to your question, when you're financially literate, then you know that the money that I have, I can take a portion out of it and save for something. So we have been instilling a lot of things in the youths, in the women, in the men as well. I know it's Women's Day, but also in the men as well. And we've been instilling this saving culture in them, that the little money that you have, you can take a percentage out of it and save for something. So you can save for a holiday, you can save for school fees, you can save for clothes, you can save for something. So yes, there is pressure from the young people to look nice, to look good and everything. But I think the main aim of what we're doing, I think when you get so financially literate, you understand why you have money and what you should use your money for. So you can save, you can also insure, you can also get a loan, a very good credit, which is used for something good. Loans are not bad, by the way, and I know you mentioned something about a loan. You can actually get a good loan for a very good investment. So loans are not bad, then the banks will be out of service, but you should be getting a loan for something that will earn you something back. So in terms of our content, in terms of the things that we take out to the people out there in terms of financial education, financial literacy, we try to instill the saving culture and the investment culture and the borrowing, which is credible as well. Yeah.
Rose, let's now get to specifics in terms of interventions that FSD Zambia has designed to address the unique financial inclusion challenges that are facing predominantly the marginalized groups that we are discussing here.
Okay, so I've already mentioned some of them. One of them, of course, is a social norm study that we are doing. It's a study that we are interrogating the social and gender norms that affect women's ability to serve or just impact on their financial inclusion. So with this, it's actually a transformational kind of approach where we just don't want to provide financial education, but we want to understand what are the causes. And when we understand the causes, we design programs that are going to, address those issues. We are grateful that, for example, the government has got this CDF now. 5% of that is going towards women's empowerment. That's a very good initiative. But we think it's very important that women become, literate on how to grow their money, like she's saying, how to invest, how to serve, and also how to borrow responsibly. So that's one of the things that we are doing in terms of research. We also contribute to the FinScope. We work, just to see the financial health of the many Zambians, different groups. And then, like I also talked about the National Financial Education curriculum that we have developed for the young people in schools from grade 8 to grade 12. So we'll be rolling this out to about 250 schools in Zambia. We're going to print the curriculum and we roll it out. So we've worked with the Ministry of Education, we've worked with the CDC, who have actually helped us to develop this curriculum. And then we also work to support the implementation of the National Financial Inclusion Strategy with the Ministry of Finance. So there are different things that we are doing, both at policy level, at operational level, and even just in terms of research, just trying to bring out the knowledge out there, and also just the status and where we are, Zambia as a country, in terms of financial health, financial inclusion. So we have different, and of course that's apart from our everyday work of working with banks and regulators, but as I think different. Mawa's department works on savings groups, and so many other financial products. We also have the DFS, the Digital Financial Service Department. That's basically just promoting digital financial services for financial inclusion. So there are different programs, but I think we are facilitators and we are working with different actors in all these things that we do.
Mawa, I recently had a conversation with the Bankers Association of Zambia, and interestingly, I learned that mobile financial penetration has actually increased significantly. And this, in my view, is key to promoting real GDP growth for Zambians, because that is money that is here. That is money that can be pumped in the real, or in the formal financial sector for access and distribution to different people. So I just wanted to find out, when we have such positive strides happening, how does this help to supplement the work of FSD?
Well, I think I could have mentioned some projects that were running because of that, like the cash shake-off. Mobile money, yes, has contributed to financial inclusion. Yes, it has contributed to financial inclusion. And to supplement that, we've also seen that even as it has contributed to financial inclusion, we also find that a lot of women still do not have access to phones, and so mobile money is through phones. So to kind of bridge that gap, FSD Zambia has been working with different partners, and both in the public sector, the private sector, to come up with innovations that can bridge that gap and see if we can intensify the efforts of the mobile or the digital financial services by providing phones, by also advocating for mobile money. I've also noticed that every time that now that somebody can go out into, even at the marketplace, you can actually pay for goods using mobile money. So we've seen an increase in terms of access to financial services through mobile money. And it is, even if it's happening here in the urban sector, in the peri-urban sector, it's also now started happening in the rural sector. And in the rural sector, since FSD Zambia loves the rural sector as well, we believe that they should also be financially included. And so some of the gaps that we've been doing are some of those, like the Cash Shake-Off project. Yeah.
All right, so at the beginning of the show, I did mention that today is not just an ordinary day, but of course, it is what I think, equate to a New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, especially for women folk that are watching right now, because tomorrow is Women's Day, a very special day where we get to appreciate and recognize the efforts that our women are making to making society a better place, and not only a better place, but a place that is worth living in. So right now, we did earlier on, get special messages from special individuals that are not only role models, but these are women that are doing the best that they can within their means, with all their power, to make this country great. So we will hear from Charity Chikumbi, who is Director of Policy and Digital Financial Services from FSD Zambia, as she gives us her message to the women that are watching us right now.
Digital financial services have brought great encouragement to most women in business. Business women at different levels. This has brought an opportunity for them to have access to financial services, because all the things that hindered them, like identity cards or limits or access to a financial point. And with access to financial points, sometimes they are afraid of men being agents. But with the comfort of a wallet, when you have an e-wallet, you can actually transact without a limit. And sometimes we get sensitive to a man knowing your money transactions. But with a digital platform, nobody needs to know. You can send your money after selling, and you can go home and just go home with what to provide for the family without anyone knowing what's left in the wallet.
Beautiful. So then just say the words then that digital financial services will actually promote equality for women.
All right, so that is Charity Chikumbi from FSD Zambia, just giving her message to all the women to be able to ensure that they do utilize available, platforms technologically to be able to carry out those financial transactions. But as we get to close, briefly, let's hear from another woman who is from the Zambia Revenue Authority. She is the commissioner who is in charge of finance at ZRA, and this is Bridget Muyenga.
Yes, in different activities. I think for me, I would say it's important for us women to actually venture into business. And for those who are married and those who are single, I think it's better not just to depend on a salary, because the salary cannot sustain you. Even if you have got an income which comes in almost every month, I think the other thing that we should do is to supplement our spouses. Let's not put our spouses under pressure. At least if we can supplement in any small way that we can, I think that will be a relief to our spouses. So by this, what am I saying? I am saying, women, I'm encouraging you to say, can you actually involve yourself in businesses? If you don't have startup loans or startup funds, I think what you can do is, there are a lot of banks who are actually giving SME loans, and they are emphasizing that they want to empower the women. I think you can visit the banks so that you're actually given those resources so that you can start the businesses. And when you start the businesses, you have enough resources to educate your children and at the same time assist in the home. Yes, the government, I think, have been encouraging us women to form cooperatives, as you are aware.
All right, so those are some of the special messages from indeed incredible women that are exemplary. And not only that, but they are doing quite extraordinary work in setting the example for not only their fellow women, but for also men, to see to it that, of course, we can make this country better by contributing significantly in a very positive way within our respective roles. This evening, we were looking at the role of financial literacy in empowering women in Zambia, with a special focus on financial literacy and inclusion from an FSD Zambia perspective. And joining me on this conversation is Maua Lungu, who is Director of Financial Services Supply, and Rose Namukwai, who is Director Gender, Youth and Financial education, and of course, these are the people that were sharing the knowledge, experiences, lessons picked up, and what can be done to make sure that the agenda of financial literacy and inclusion indeed reaches and achieves the intended goal as also prescribed by the central bank in the National Financial Inclusion Strategy. The name is Wenson Mavoro. Thank you for watching, and remember, you can still participate on this platform by simply, liking the Diamond TV Zambia Facebook page and of course following the FSD Zambia social media platforms for more on financial inclusion. Have yourself a great evening.
Diamond TV, television reinvented.
Berigo, with you every day.